All right, welcome back. Now, we are going to get into a very interesting conversation. It's time for health. And today on the health segment, Dr. Calvin Owusu, who is the head of occupational health and wellness at the Claron Health International, has joined us in the studio. And we're going to be talking about malaria in pregnancy.
Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very well. I'm very well. Good old malaria.
Looking
malaria.
dapper as usual.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Always looking good. Always looking
I'm learning from my grandpa.
Oh, wow.
Well,
Wow, Doc.
you got
Wow.
out of you.
He did.
Yeah.
A good one. A hearty one. A belly laugh.
It's Apioco who started all this.
All this.
shenanigans.
Oh, happy why. Anyway, Doc, always good to have you.
Good to be here.
Malaria, as you said, good old malaria. Never goes away anywhere.
It never
Sometimes
goes
we
away.
forget that it's there.
Yeah.
It's
And then we're
amazing.
reminded. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when, since you are dealing with seemingly bigger issues, but malaria still is a big deal, and we really need to, we need to keep the conversation alive so that people are still aware that it's something that we need to prevent as much as possible.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
But specifically, you want to talk about malaria in pregnancy today.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are here because somebody got pregnant. Otherwise we wouldn't be here, And pregnancy is something that it's that thing that everybody or every woman will, at least most women will go through, but we don't give it enough attention, and so people we expect that you go through it and come back home, but we all know that many women and many children don't actually come back home. And one of the major players in that space of not letting them come home is actually malaria.
Wow.
So yes, even though we know about malaria, or we think we know about malaria, it is still causing devastating effects among the cross-sectionally it's causing problems, but particularly in pregnant women. You see, because there are things that pregnant women go through that regular Joes like us and even Kokui at this point don't go through. You see, when you are pregnant, you have to understand that the baby that you are incubating, for all intents and purposes, the body actually recognizes that baby as a foreign material. It's a foreigner that should not be there. And so if you actually allow it, the body will attack the baby and kill it. You see, and so the first thing that one of the key roles that the uterus plays is that it prevents the body's immune system from attacking and in trying to do that, once you become pregnant, one of the mechanisms that are initiated or that are set off is that there's an immediate suppression of the woman's immunity. It's because the immune system is allowed to operate at optimum. It will actually find a way to recognize that there's a foreign material here that should not be.
Wow.
You see, and so one of the jobs of the placenta, so let's make it simple, of the womb, is to prevent the body's immunity, so the white cells, from crossing the placenta and attacking the baby. You see, and in doing that, as I explained, the immune system generally is suppressed. So once immunity is suppressed, you automatically understand where I'm leading to with this. It means that the woman is automatically
susceptible
to
all kinds of things.
Exactly. Including and especially malaria. Because we are in a malaria endemic area, which means that we are in the mosquitoes, not there.
It's normal. Just say.
Yes.
So,
and if you've heard this being said over time that mosquitoes love pregnant women. So it's one of these things, because the immune system is low. And obviously the pregnant women are generally slower than in terms of movement than the general population. So by the time they are going to now swat the mosquito, they've probably done their business and they are going. You see, so we need to protect them. Basically, that's what I'm saying, because they are at risk, additional risk as compared to you and I, or even you, Kokui, and I. So pregnant women are at risk of malaria to a higher degree.
Yeah.
Wow. In terms of the impact on let me say, the maternal population, how grave is it?
It's significant enough for there to be policy. You see, there's actually policy for protecting or preventing malaria in pregnancy. And this policy is not even just limited to Ghana. It's a WHO policy that cuts across all the malaria endemic areas. You know, in fact, there are protocols even outside the malaria endemic areas anyway, because there's a lot of traveling back and forth. You see, so it is important. You know, the impact is very, very significant. You know, so let's start with the health impact, for instance. You see, generally, malaria is one of the leading causes of anemia. You see, because in the Plasmodium's life cycle, so Plasmodium is the parasite that actually, you know, results in the malaria. So when the mosquito bites you, it releases the Plasmodium into your bloodstream. And as the Plasmodium goes through a cycle, there's a phase where it actually stays in the red blood cell, you know, and it results in the rupture of the red blood cell, you know. And I'm not talking about rapture where you are going to heaven, following the performance, you know. But it actually results in breaking of the red cells. And if significant numbers of red cells are broken, you become anemic, because red cell is actually what you are measuring when you are doing your full blood count, and you tell you your blood level is low. It's actually a red cell like hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is inside the red cell. So if the red cells are breaking up, it means that you are going to be anemic, you see. And as a byproduct of the breaking of the red cells, that's where you have something called jaundice, so the yellowing of the eye. So anybody who has severe malaria, you might actually notice the yellowing of the eye as a complication. So generally, everybody goes through that if you have malaria. Now, when you're pregnant, there's already a physiological anemia as part of the measures to try and make sure that blood is reaching the baby. The body pulls a lot, holds a lot of water. Let's say let's call it fluid. You know, so your blood as a pregnant person is actually thinner. It flows better than the normal blood, which is why bleeding in pregnancy or bleeding at delivery is an emergency. I think we touched on it a couple of weeks ago, where we said that you actually start putting intervention before you even shout for help. You know, so yeah, it's a big deal. So the woman is already physiologically anemic. When I say physiologically anemic, I mean that the blood cells may be normal, but because of the extra fluid that is being kept, it means that the volume of blood has increased. So now, even though your red cell may be okay, it has naturally, in terms of percentage-wise, it is lower. So now, because you are physiologically anemic, if you now have malaria, which then breaks down your red cell, which were already not enough to serve the two people, do you get the so the impact is huge. So as a result, the woman is already anemic, and then this woman is also now feeding 2 or sometimes 3, 4 in other individuals in the womb. So automatically, the child is not going to get enough. So one of the biggest effects of malaria in pregnancy is a low birth weight baby. And that's a whole other lecture on complications that can come as a result of being low birth weight. You know, it even has implication on your brain's development. You see, so sometimes, again, your child goes to school and is not performing well, and you are beating him and telling that maybe it's actually your fault for not protecting yourself from malaria. You see, so the long-term effects of malaria in pregnancy are some of these. You know, so that baby can actually be born with complications, can even be born dead, you know, because stillbirth is high as a result of malaria. You can have premature delivery, which would then lead to preterm baby, and that preterm baby also is at risk of all manner of complications, you know. And the mother herself can also suffer complications, including death, as a result of the anemia and its complications. So we really don't want malaria in pregnancy, you know. And if you do take a cross-section of the population, and you realize that such a significant number of women have this condition, it obviously calls for some level of attention. And like I already mentioned, there's policy. I mean, there's IPT, which is intermittent prophylactic treatment against malaria, which is actually part of antenatal schedule. You know, yes. So every woman who is pregnant, who actually attends antenatal, and I'm emphasizing on who actually attends antenatal for antenatal care. There's actually malaria prophylaxis as part of the protocol. So once you cross your first trimester, entering second trimester, they begin the malaria prophylaxis. So whether they don't even test you for malaria, because the assumption is that if you live in an endemic country,
like this,
and with what I've described, the fact that you're already at risk anyway, they are going to treat you regardless. You know, so every woman actually is given something called SP. So if you've had SP, go and take your SP. SP is actually the malaria prophylaxis. I mean, the full name is very long, so for doxine, pyrimethamine, but it's not important. Just call it SP. Everybody knows what you're talking about.
Wow.
And so I think you take about 3 doses in the course of your pregnancy. And this is all backed by research that's shown that, yes, it actually gives you significant protection. If you compare women who have been through the SP protocol and those who have not, the effect is telling. You see. But then the question is, how many women are actually going to antenatal? Now, that's the biggest question that, I mean, we can't answer today.
Okay, so you've talked about prevention in a way. What if a woman does contract malaria during a pregnancy? Are the treatment options that we would normally take safe for a woman to take during pregnancy?
Nothing is safe when you are pregnant. I mean, you shouldn't,
Yeah.
you don't just, and I mean, you should not. If you are pregnant, your first point of call for any health advice is not your friend, is not the pharmacy, it's the hospital. You need to go in, and even at the hospital, it's not just any hospital. You need to go to the right department, the antenatal department, where there are qualified midwives and there are qualified doctors to actually attend to you. You see, so you need to understand that it's not just about you. Everything, almost everything you take by mouth will get to the baby. So be it food, be it medication, be it alcohol, smoking, everything that goes into your body through your mouth or nose, the baby is going to partake in it. And so whatever we are prescribing to you, we must make sure that it is good for the baby. And if it is not good for the baby, we must assess the impact that is going to have on the baby so that we can take a decision, cost-benefit analysis. So yes, there's malaria treatment that is available for pregnant women, and which I'm not going to confirm that it is the same as what we take, because I don't want people to go there. But it may or may not be the same as what we are taking.
Right.
The important thing, first of all, is that you need to be tested first before you be given the proper, the formal treatment.
Okay.
Without any testing, SP is what has been proven to be safe to be taken as prophylaxis. There are several other malaria prophylaxis, but the one that has been proven to be safe to be taken in pregnancy is SP, which is why it has been rolled out as part of the antenatal program for all pregnant women within the malaria endemic zone.
That's great information.
Of which Ghana is smack in the middle.
We are
sitting on the equator, so we are in the middle. I mean, the Greenwich Meridian is passing through here, so Ghana is really in the middle.
Intersection.
Yeah.
It's serious.
Now, I find it interesting we talk about prophylaxis because the rationale for prophylaxis is that we are in an endemic area anyway. Why has it then become problematic when people go and take malaria medication without testing?
This man. So,
Yeah. Please, let the doctor answer. Oh, I understand the question, all right.
Yeah.
I feel
Yes,
like I'm in the law court.
In the law court, yes, on a question of law.
I know, right?
Yes.
But I mean, it's a great question. So generally speaking, if you live in an endemic country like Ghana, there's really no need to take malaria prophylaxis, because you have been bitten by mosquitoes enough times that you have. In fact, everybody who is in an endemic area has some level of
Plasmodium in their
tolerance.
system.
Yes, I mean, if you actually run a detailed malaria analysis on everybody, about 70% of us are carrying a plasmodium. But our bodies have an understanding with the plasmodium, so they are living at peace with each other. You see. But I mentioned earlier that when you become pregnant, one of the earliest processes that your body undergoes is a suppression of your immune system, which means that whatever protection you had prior is significantly reduced, because if that doesn't happen, remember that the things that are giving you the resistance, or the things that are giving you the protection, is your defense, which is the white cells. So if you leave them at optimum levels, they will find a way to attack and kill the foreign material that you are carrying. And so the body must find a way to suppress it so that baby can develop. And as a consequence of that suppression,
overexposed.
Exactly. So then that is why there's a need that particular group of people be given prophylaxis against malaria. Having said that, I'm referring to the fact that if you live in Ghana, there's no need for malaria prophylaxis. If you travel out of a malaria endemic area for more than 6 months and you are returning, you need prophylaxis. Because the protection wanes over time. And so if you went to school for about 3-4 years and you're coming back home, even though we take for granted, ideally you should actually come in. You shouldn't come in hot. You should come in slowly. So you take prophylaxis, and allow the mosquitoes to bite you small, so that the balance is restored.
Wow. I mean, I know we're talking about pregnancy, but what about breastfeeding as well? For women new mothers, you're still breastfeeding. Can you take malaria medication? Does it pass to the baby through breast milk?
So, I mean, like I said, everything that applies during pregnancy also applies after pregnancy. So whatever you take in is going to come out through the breast milk as well, which is why something like nutrition, you need to eat well during pregnancy and also after pregnancy, because it is the breast milk is what is sustaining the baby. So yes, the medication for treating malaria, it's also, some of it is also excreted through breast milk, and so we really need to make sure that we indeed have malaria. Right. You see, because once you do deliver, after 6 weeks, that's about 40 days, right? Your body tends to return to the previous state. You know, it takes about the 6 weeks to return to normalcy. You know, of course we know that technically it takes longer, but research has shown that approximately 6 weeks is where most people tend to regain their full composure, you see. But you need to know that I have malaria. Now it's no longer about taking SP, because you don't need to take SP anymore, so you don't need to be taking on prophylaxis anymore. But before you take any medication, you need to make sure that that medication is safe, because you see, the default position is that whatever you take by mouth will come out through breast milk. So don't assume, and that's why I'm saying that don't listen to friends and family. You need to go to the right source, you know, so that you don't put your baby at risk. You see, something, I know we are discussing malaria, but something like fetal alcohol syndrome, you know, we know for a fact that it happens if you are pregnant and you drink alcohol, whether a shot glass or a full bottle, you can actually get it. But we also now know that it can also still develop even after delivery through breast milk.
Wow.
You see, so we need to be careful. You know, the fact that you have delivered doesn't mean that you are not free yet. So long as that baby is suckling, you need to be careful what you are taking in.
Yep, it's a big sacrifice. Pregnancy and childbirth.
It is.
You guys need to respect us more.
But we do. Well, I mean, I do.
Yeah, well, I do too.
You do too.
So we do. So, but just finally before you leave us, so looking at women in general, what would be your immediate or strongest advice to any woman that's planning to get pregnant, you know, in terms of keeping themselves?
I mean, I like that you said planning to get pregnant, because pregnancy is one of the most important, one of the things you see, because your body needs to be ready. And I'm talking about your physical body. Let's not even talk mental. That is important, but let's leave that aside. Your body needs to be ready to actually handle the pressure of pregnancy, because pregnancy is a lot of changes. A lot of changes they are going to go through. You see, so if you don't plan for the pregnancy, it's going to affect you in so many ways. Important when it comes to your nutrition is very important. You need to actually eat well, because you are feeding not just yourself, you are feeding a developing baby, and that baby is developing very, very fast. So if you don't feed well, and here's the thing, the body will preferentially feed the baby. So they will actually take from you if you're not eating well. That's why sometimes you see pregnant women and they are losing weight, but they are, you know, they are, of course the baby is affected eventually, but in the early parts they will prefer that the baby will get preferential treatment, because the placenta is actually, that's why it's a parasite. It's actually sucking you dry. So if you are not replacing, you are in trouble, you see. And then one key thing, folic acid. You need to be on, any woman who is fertile should actually be on folic acid, 5 milligrams a day. You see, because that folic acid alone it significantly improves the nervous system development of a baby. You see, so by taking folic acid, you are preventing your child from developing certain nervous. When I say nervous system, brain, spinal cord issues. You see, so once you are intending to get, even if you're not intending to get pregnant, just be safe, take folic acid, because again, because you're not planning for the pregnancy, you never know when you might be pregnant. So just take folic acid. It's a single thing you can do for yourself that can help your baby that's going to be developing. So folic acid cannot be overemphasized.
Fantastic.
Great stuff. Thank you,
you,
Doc.
Thank you.
All right, how do people get in touch with you? I'm sure people are watching and asking, look, I need to talk to him when I'm planning my next pregnancy.
Yes, so you can reach out to me on social media, Kelvin Owusu MD, or you can reach out to our clinic page as well, Claron Health International, on all social media channels.
All right.
Fantastic. Thank you,
All right.
Dr. Kelvin Owusu.
So we've been speaking with Dr. Kelvin Owusu on malaria in pregnancy. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.